Russia's top diplomats accused the coalition of the willing of trying to undermine the progress made between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Speaking a little earlier today, Sergei Lavrov said that Ukraine's European allies are trying to shift the focus away from resolving the root causes of the war. He also described attempts to discuss post-war security guarantees for Ukraine as, I quote, hopeless. Well, it comes as Russia launched 40 missiles and 600 drones across western Ukraine overnight. Ukraine's Emergency Service Committee said that Russian occupiers carried out a massive attack on Lviv, in particular causing fatalities and injuries. It's reported to have caused fires and damaged homes, non-residential buildings and also vehicles. Well, Ukraine's foreign minister said an American electronics manufacturer in western Ukraine was also hit, causing serious damage and casualties. Andrei Sybiha has described the facility as fully civilian, saying it had nothing to do with defence on the military. Ukrainian drones struck Russia's oil refinery in the southern Rostov province earlier. It's an overnight attack that caused multiple explosions. That's according to the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Let's bring in our Moscow correspondent, Ivor Bennett. And Ivor, I just want to go back to the very start of all of this, where we talked about Sergei Lavrov, and he said that Ukraine's European allies are trying to shift the focus away from resolving the root causes of the war. And that's kind of Kremlin code, is it not, for how Moscow perceives the root causes of the war, and what the West will say is a very different story.
Yeah, that's right, Gareth. It'll be interesting, I think, to see how Donald Trump reacts to Sergei Lavrov's latest comments, because for a second day in a row now, Russia's foreign minister has poured some pretty cold water on the American president's diplomatic push to find a peace deal on security guarantees for Ukraine. He called the current discussions hopeless because they don't involve Moscow's input. Europe, of course, in the past couple of days has raised the prospect of putting boots on the ground in Ukraine in the future after Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff said that Moscow had agreed to a NATO-style protection guarantee for Ukraine, but these discussions have not gone down well in Moscow, clearly. Lavrov accused Europe of trying to undermine what he described as the progress made in Alaska after that summit between Putin and Trump. And he said, I hope such European adventurism fails. So clearly, I think trying to drive a wedge there between Donald Trump and the European leaders. The only security guarantees Moscow would be willing to back, he said, would be ones that involve their input, but that's clearly not something that Kiev would ever sign up to. And on the issue of a potential meeting between Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin, that is no closer either, with Sergei Lavrov saying once again that there are issues that need to be resolved first. Basically, Moscow doesn't see Zelensky as the legitimate leader of Ukraine, and he says that issue needs to be ironed out before any documents can be signed. So despite Donald Trump's optimism in recent days that we are now much closer to a peace deal, well, it seems that these two fundamental stumbling blocks remain, and Moscow doesn't sound in any rush to find a way around them. And despite all of Russia's talk of peace, a lot of war remains, with last night's attack the biggest in more than a month. Ukrainian officials say that Russia fired 574 drones in total and 40 missiles, killing one person in the Lviv region and injuring at least 18. Most of those, as you said, Gareth, were at this American electronics manufacturer in western Ukraine. According to Volodymyr Zelensky, this is a factory that produces coffee machines. So it'll be interesting to see what Donald Trump makes of that as well, because this is an American-owned asset, and this is not the kind of activity you would associate with a country that claims to want peace.